Hi bodyweight strength athletes. This lesson is all about maxing out bodyweight strength. So whatever your main goal is, handstand push-up, one-arm chin-ups, weighted chin-ups, weighted dips, planche, front lever, all those great compound and complex bodyweight / weighted calisthenics exercises, you can use this template to program just slightly ahead and really learn how to build absolute strength like a full beast. I found that the inspiration for this video came out with me thinking and observing the field of calisthenics and gymnastics and the nature of it. How strong calisthenics and gymnasts came by with trying max out efforts, which later on the calisthenics young athletes call attempts. They refer to attempts as the best way of building bodyweight strength, especially for skills. And by attempts, they mean trying a new PR with a skill or a variation of the skill. So you can do handstand push-up, you can do on parallel bars, you can do on floor, you can do weighted, you can go full range of motion, back to wall, chest to wall. That's the handstand push-up example that we will use today for the programming. But often it is referred to for ring skills. So Maltese press to planche, Maltese to handstand. So many skills. So you can take it. If you're an intermediate, you can use this. If you're a beginner, you can use this. If you're elite, you can use this. And we will discuss how you will change really the programming and the structure depending on your level of advancements. But the idea is, I simply observed how the field trained to get really, really strong. And I came to the conclusion that high intensity, that's the backbone of strength athlete. Increasing absolute strength will transfer over to strength endurance. So your absolute strength, that will be the base for a strength athlete. And even if you want to pick your endurance, you can only go as far as your absolute strength. For example, if your weighted pull-ups, like competitive, like street lifting style, weighted pull-ups is 80 kilogram, well, your strength endurance sets can be only a derivative of that number. You can't do pull-up sets of 12 or sets of 20 with 30 kilogram if your max one max in the weighted pull-ups is 30 kilograms. That's your max. That will be the base, and then you can build, that's the foundation, and then you can build the endurance, the skill. Often a lot of you will not go to the endurance route, they will go to the skill route. So you will want to build the base so you can prioritize the skill. Again, using the handstand push-up example, most of you probably, if you set that as a goal, you want to do the freestanding handstand push-up variation, right? The anywhere, anytime maneuver that is highly impressive, that anyone will recognize on the street. You have amazing strength, balance, coordination, everything, right? So you will want a base of strength that is much more profound than a 1 rep freestanding handstand push-up. You need reserve of strength. If you can only do 1 chest to wall handstand push-up, your best freestanding handstand push-up can only be 1. If you have 12 reps chest to wall handstand push-up, then you can push the freestanding handstand push-up all the way, if you're very, very efficient with the handstand, all the way up to 12. So what I'm saying that is the absolute strength is the base. You will gain tons of strength by maxing out, but it seems like a lot of max out attempt type of athletes who advocate that end up being injured or in pain all the time. And we have the opposite, the other way around. Those people who say that don't train high intensity at all, don't max out, you should never fail, you should never that. Those always seem to stay within the same realms of strength. They don't get strong, end up advocating only prehab exercises, rotator cuff, Y raises, hollow holds. They they improved a ton, they built a tremendous physique. You follow those athletes and coaches, and I'm not gonna name shame them, but you follow them. They got strong, they built an impressive physique, they got elite performance, not elite, but they gain a lot of performance skill, whether that skill was one arm chin up, whatever, I don't really care. You follow them because of that, their experimentation in field and their progress that you saw. But then they stopped. And then they went back. They didn't really exceeded their potential. So they now just advocating the boring stuff, the base stuff, whilst they don't really know how to improve themselves any further. So we have those two sides, and I want to teach you how to max out, to find the middle ground, how to max out, train high intensity smartly, how to train wisely. Because a strength athlete, to build the absolute strength, to build that solid base, which is the base for your endurance, conditioning, your skill strength, you'll have to learn how to increase that absolute strength while being injury-free. So we have a few structure. This is a structure, a macro cycle. This is a mesocycle, so basically a week. So again, simple terms, right? Month, week, day. Okay, so we will start broad, zooming out to a 4 or 5 week training cycle. We have 5 week macro cycle here, a month of training, and ends up with a deload that is optional. So I added week 5. Okay, so you want to take a skill. Let's choose a skill. Let's say we do handstand push-up, right? Let's say we do handstand push-up. We choose handstand push-up. Why? Because it's a great upper body builder, delts, arm, magnificent. It will build a magnificent physique. And I argue that the delts are the seat of power, as Marvin Eder, a phenomenal Bronze Era bodybuilder and lifter and strength athlete, said. It means that when your shoulders are strong, your upper body is strong. When your delts are strong, you can do overhead pressing, deep, bench press, push-ups, anything. The delts are the seat of power. So we will choose barbell overhead press, and usually with a lot of bodyweight strength athletes, that's a common primary goal, and for good reason. So we want to take an exercise like the handstand push-up, and now we want to max out with the handstand push-up. We want to understand how to program with that idea. So really, to prevent injury, if you're maxing out all the time, let's take a linear periodization. What is linear periodization? It's where you start usually with high volume, low intensity. You increase intensity over time as usually proportionally decrease the volume. Great. So a lot of linear periodization starts you with sets of 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Okay, so we have here like 7 weeks of reaching a certain peak. So you only train high intensity max effort, which in it of itself is a skill. A lot of people you may have observed that athletes who train 1 rep max all the time, they know how to recruit themselves into the 1 rep max test or task. So, and those who only train high reps, they don't know how to really recruit all their body, all their motor units into one very short, high intensity, either isometric haul or 1 rep max. So that in it of itself is a skill that is not trained all the way up to the last week. Here we want to max out each and every week. Okay, you have a high intensity session, and usually you will have another session, an additional session of the same movement pattern. Twice a week is a great frequency, a week per movement to aim for. It is enough time to recover between sessions for the same muscle groups or movement pattern, also enough practice time. So twice a week you can focus on learning and mastering and improving the movement enough, sufficiently. Whilst when you go very, very high frequency, like 4 times a week, it will be very hard for you to manage your fatigue, okay? Leading up often to injuries. Not that you can't do it smartly, you can. Okay, so that's linear periodization. You only max out and train the ability to present maximum effort once every 7-8 weeks. We want to max out every week, but the problem is that it is very straining, it is very stressful on the body. So what we do, we change, we rotate exercise variation frequently. Louis Simmons did it in West Side Barbell. Matt Wenning now promotes it as he was a Louis Simmons student. Louis Simmons learned it from Verkhoshansky, Zatsiorsky, etc. A lot of Soviet great masters of strength, doctors of strength, researchers, and now Matt Wenning, great content, a lot of max effort method with his approach. And I wrote a book, not about it, but my book is highly revolved around how to do that, how to program for yourself and assess your strengths and weaknesses. You can check my book, is in the description. There's a link. In the link you will see Get the Book, Beyond Bodyweight by Refael Paz. If you want to read more about it and dive into the assessment, strengths, weaknesses, and how to program design for yourself. So as you see, the tutelage is passed through the generation, and now I'm using bodyweight strength as a platform to build strength, and the knowledge that I gain from these masters of strength, which we crave nowadays. There's not a lot of people who really dedicate their life to research on this field, in this field today, which is sad. So we have to rotate variations to get by with the absolute amount of fatigue that you can build by maxing out each week. And you will usually have, let's say, 2 movements that you train this way, like a push and a pull if you're training bodyweight strength. You will do that for handstand push-up and weighted chin-ups. So you need to max out twice in a week. That's once per movement, twice in a week. And you have other additional sessions which we'll dive into. But that is highly stressful. How do you get by with maxing out each and every week? Because you can't really sustain that as linear periodization proclaimed. They are correct, but we rotate exercise variation to each and every time stress the system slightly differently. So you don't really stress the same stuff, mechanism, tendons, muscle in the same way. And that's the way that you can get by with maxing out very frequently. That's how a lot of the successful calisthenics athletes do so. They change variation. Parallel bar Maltese, floor Maltese, ring Maltese. Then they change to presses, Maltese presses, planche push-ups. So, and then you can play with the variations and the implements and the grips, and you can have so many variations. So we must choose variations that are relevant to build absolute strength with the handstand push-up, and we want force to be the limiting factor, which is often the problem with freestanding handstand push-up. You are simply limited by balance. So we can't really max out and strain yourself to build absolute strength. So we will choose even barbell overhead press. Great carryover to handstand push-up, your shoulder strength. Full range of motion chest to wall handstand push-ups, so you will increase intensity by increasing range of motion. Put your hands on parallel bars or plates or books or whatever. Full range of motion chest to wall handstand push-up, then you will do back to wall handstand push-up, which is usually stronger for most athletes. So, and you will end up with weighted floor. So floor is just with your forehead or nose to the ground, which is basically partial range of motion. I love when bodyweight training incorporates old school methods of strength just as a means of progressing in bodyweight variations and complexity. Back in the day, Paul Anderson, arguably the strongest man in the world, one of the best squatters of all time, if not the best squatter of all time, he used to do a quarter squat, maybe with 1,600 pounds, then a half squat, maybe with 1,200 pounds, and then a full squat with 800 pounds, and that was the squat session. So he used partial range of motion to increase strength and really teach his nervous system to adapt to heavy load, even for small ranges of motion. So you can use that to add weight. So now you are able to add weight because you have less range of motion, ending up with the heaviest variation of them all. And you can have a deload week at the end, where you just do pike push-ups or elevated pike push-ups, something that is easier for 2 sets or 1 set of max reps. So you still practice the movement, you still fatigue the muscles, but you don't max out in a row too much. You can do freestanding variations, which are also easier on the body. You can neglect the deload week altogether if you don't feel like you have to. Be attentive, and not everyone needs deload every 5 weeks. I haven't deloaded maybe the first 5 years of my strength training, so who figures? If you're a beginner, you'll be able to spread this block over maybe 3 to 4 months, because your body is still, and the nervous system is not adapted to the stimulus. It is not experienced too much yet to really adapt very, very fast to the new exercise, to the variation, to the rep range, as well as an elite athlete, advanced athlete does. The more advanced you get, the more frequently you have to vary your training, because nothing really of the same kind stimulates the body as much. So here you change variation every week, but if you're a beginner, you can use this format, spread the barbell overhead press for 4 weeks. That will be the first block, weeks 1 to 4, and then second month, you will do the same thing with full range of motion, chest to wall, handstand push-up. So you do that over the course of 4 macro cycles, 4 months. Why? Because you can. A beginner will be able to take the barbell overhead press and add weight every week for at least 8 weeks. Potentially, you can even spread that for a full year. Whereas that's unsustainable and unrealistic for advanced. Just progressively overload in a linear fashion. How much weight how many weeks and sessions consecutively can you expect to add weight to your handstand push-up? Anyone with a few years of strength training, regimented strength training under their belt, knows that that's unrealistic and highly unsustainable. If it was, everyone would have been overhead pressing a 3-digit 100 kilogram overhead, weighing 60 kilograms. That's not realistic. So you have to change it, and you better change it before you hit a plateau or psychological burnout. Beginners can spread this, as I said, over a long period of time, and novices, which is more like an early intermediate, they can spread it, let's say, over a 2-month span. So you will do barbell overhead press for 2 weeks, full ROM, chest to wall, handstand push-up for weeks 3 to 4, and an additional 2 weeks. And basically, you will spread the same over 2 months of work instead of 1 month of work for the more intermediate athlete plus and advanced and so on. If you're very, very advanced, you can even come up with more variations, so you'll have more time before you have to max out with the same variation. Hopefully at this stage, you're supposed to break your PRs. Maxing out is all about breaking PRs. This will be your PR, 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 and by the next time that you do the same thing the next month, you're trying to break your barbell overhead press record. And then on week 5, you'll do week 6, second month, you'll do the same with the full range of motion, handstand push-up, trying to increase range. That's the idea. Obviously, you'll have some mediocre to bad days where you won't be able to break PRs, but at least you worked heavy enough. You really reached a max effort stimulus. It doesn't have to be a PR. Anything that is about 90% of your 1 rep max and above is sufficient to get the nervous system going in a max effort stimulus way. So you can do the same. You can take each variation and then do that on parallel bar. So one time you'll do floor, wrist extended. One time you'll do parallel bar. That's different implement, different grip. Now you have twice the variations. You can do the same on rings. Now you have 3 times the variations. You can spread that for elite athletes over a 12-week span before you repeat the same exercise variation. Okay, I went on a very long monologue, a break. Okay, let's zoom in on a week, how a week would look. You got most of the idea of the max effort. For now, I will run over the next subject as it's simply more to get you to enter this session without making any severe mistakes, and it's not necessarily about how to program the rest of the stuff. That's not for today, but just how to insert a max effort into context of a weekly training week and a training session. So let's zoom in on 1 week. You have 1 max effort session of handstand push-up. Then 3 to 4 days later, you'll perform either a power, so speed strength, you're trying to explode, high number of sets, low number of reps, short rest intervals, or hypertrophy, so you'll simply change the rep range. In the max effort, you're training 1 to 3 rep range. You can max out with singles, doubles, or triples. Not more reps, not any more repetitions than that, because it's really outside of the max effort stimulus at this stage. The more beginner that you are, the more you can take advantage of the triples, and the more advanced you are, the more you will simply stick to singles. And this will give you slightly more time under tension. Prioritize absolute strength to add more lean mass if you are still a skinny, fat individual. Okay, you need to gain strength. You have 1 max effort method session, and you will have a second session 3 to 4 days later, either power, so for speed, very light but for speed, hypertrophy, where you will choose, let's say, a 5 to 8 rep range, or a skill, so you can do freestanding handstand push-up on this day. Either way, anything that is lighter than the max effort session. Each and every time you will also add supplementary exercise. That can be dips, that can be weighted ring push-ups, and another heavy compound bodyweight exercise that will help you carry over to the overhead pressing. And then accessories, so lighter exercises. You can do bicep curls with rings. You can do bodyweight tricep extension, ring tricep extension, diamond push-ups, ab work, any small muscle group work, shoulder external rotation, ring face pulls. You can do a lot of stuff to support, build the muscle groups that are necessary for overhead pressing for the max effort. Great. Let's zoom in on a singular session, how to max out, how to prepare yourself for a max out. You will warm up with your general warm up, joint mobility, rehab, prehab, mobility, band routines. I do them for about 5 minutes, not too much. I don't love a long general warm up. And then you are trying to gradually increase intensity as you are entering singles with the same movement pattern. So a good set of 10 with pike push-ups to warm up the shoulders, a good set of 5 with elevated pike push-ups to warm up gradually, and then a single with back to wall handstand push-up. This is a back to wall handstand push-up session, max out session. You are now entering the max effort zone, which is 90% of my 1 rep max and above. Body weight is still not there. Hypothetically, if we're talking about someone who can perform 12 kilograms, you go 4 kilograms, 8 kilograms. You rest 2 to 3 minutes in between repetitions. In between, that's the rest interval. 8 kilograms, 10 kilograms, you're starting to slow down and you feel like you might not have the next set, but you went anyway because that's what you do on your max effort, and you got it and you broke your PR. 12 kilogram back to all handstand push-up personal record. And that's the days where we really expand our boundaries. So you chose to even try 14 kilograms. Again, if you get it on a great day, you can expand your boundaries and what you know that are your limits. And on bad days, you still ended up training relatively heavy and got the max effort stimulus. You failed the 14 kilograms, no worries. By the next month, week, whatever, when you reach the same exercise variation, you will try to break this PR. That's a month, that's a week, that's a session, that's the max effort session. You will add another supportive exercises down the session. This should take you 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and then if you have 4 sets, that's about 10 to 15 minutes. We're talking about 25 minutes of maxing out, breaking PR, hopefully, and then you can perform the supplemental and accessory exercises. And most sessions will be around 60 minutes, not too much time and too daunting. That's maxing out for bodyweight strength. Remember, absolute strength, that's the base for a strength athlete. Please check the link in the description below, subscribe, like. The Bodyweight Tribe, I have one-on-one online coaching there. You have the membership plans, which is the library of bodyweight strength knowledge for explorers, for students of the game. You want to dive deep into the content, learn how to program for yourself, exercise tutorial, nutrition plans, recipes for lean mass. You have tons of, that's a growing library. I add content each month. You also have the Bodyweight Tribe programs that you can download. Everything is in the link, the Bodyweight Tribe. Link is in the description. Subscribe, like the video. It helps a lot. I'm trying to grow. And you, all the supporters, if you comment, if you like, you help me. Wouldn't be here without you. It's really true. And thank you. Hope you learned a lot. See you in the next video.